gosh, he's in the woods. Kill me. Ew, you farted! You stink!
No, I didn't.
Yo guys, what is going on? Welcome to the ATV revolution. So this is pretty crazy. This is more of like a family story than anything. There's a couple quads that are featured in this, so it's not exactly bike of the week, it's like bikes of the week. And I really like the story behind these builds, and there's a reason that I chose you know, this one over some other great submissions. By the way, guys, I've been getting some excellent submissions. I just want to let everybody know that I do go through my DMs. Even if it doesn't say red, it doesn't mean that I haven't seen it. The competition is just fierce, and you guys are going to see this is like an awesome submission right here. Not that I don't appreciate everybody's, but I do want to give Derek an extra special thank you for taking the time to put together a ton of information for me. He even made a little video slideshow that I am going to be showing you in this video that really shows all the detail and everything in his 250R build. So the two main quads in tonight's video are both, I believe they're both 1986 250Rs. There's a ton of information that Derek sent me. By the way, this is 7Unger7. I believe I'm saying that last name right. I'm sorry, Derek, if I'm mispronouncing it, but that is the Instagram handle if you guys want to check him out. He doesn't really have anything up on Instagram, but you guys are going to get to see all about his quads in this video. So before I even get started, this is going to be pretty lengthy, at least in terms of the amount that went into these quads and just the amount of passion and everything that Derek has, which I just absolutely love. So I'm going to go ahead and put up a picture of the finalized bike right here. Actually, I have a couple pictures of the two quads, the two 250Rs that he built right next to each other. But just to give you a little sneak peek and keep your guys' interest, that's basically what's going to be coming in this video. There's also a Banshee that's featured. There's not really many pictures of it. And in the future, he's going to be building a TRX 250X that he's going to make a 330X. And it's all going to be within his family. So I'm going to use that to kind of get this story kicked off. So basically, Derek is a super family-oriented guy, and he wanted to bring his entire family into the sport. And you know, you can see right here, this is a 1986 that Derek picked up. These first few pictures are of the quad just the way he picked it up. He bought it, I think it came from Ohio. He picked it up in 2010. And the way he bought it, it looks like it's in pretty nice shape. You can see it's got some cool stuff on it. It's got the Duncan graphics on there, some beadlock wheels, the ELKA suspension, AC front bumper. It's a pretty solid looking quad. And here's a shot of Derek sitting on his Raptor 660. He said it's a 2001. This is back in the day at Breezewood Proving Grounds, and sitting right on his lap is his daughter Madison at about 5 months old. And right here you can see Derek's son Alex sitting on the 250R. So you can definitely see he's a super family oriented guy. And he even said in one of his emails, I had all three of the kids whipping the right hand, wrapping a twist throttle like an air guitar. So I thought that was pretty cool. He started them all really young and got them all into the sport. So before I get into the actual builds that Derek did, I'm going to play a small video here of Alex, Derek's son, riding around on the 250R. And you can see how young he is. I'm not exactly sure how young he is in these pictures, but what Derek told him is if you can start the quad, you can ride the quad. And sure enough, Alex got it started. So I'll play a couple clips right here.
There we go.
So this is his first time driving by himself.
Good. It's the only thing he's good at. Go back, look at that. But he doesn't even know how to shut it off. I'm gonna be so proud of him.
And I told him last year if he could start it, he can drive it.
All right, so the time went on, a couple years went by, and I guess Alex was doing a good bit of riding on the 250R, and he also had his own 65 SX dirt bike, and there was a hill climb that went almost vertical, and Derek could climb that thing like nothing, and Alex tried hopping on the 250R and climbing that thing vertically, and he ended up backflipping the 250R, and luckily he wasn't injured, but he bent back the handlebars so bad that the quad wasn't even drivable, and this is what inspired the first build of the 250R. So as Derek was building his 250R, his son ended up with a 1999 Yamaha Banshee, and he bought this thing. It was in terrible shape. It was a basket case, already torn down. It was kept outside, exposed to the elements, and the previous owner just didn't take good care of it at all. So as Derek was building his 250R, his son Alex was building the Banshee pretty much right alongside of him, and one day he came home and it just kind of hit him. You know, he looked at the Banshee that was totally thrashed when they bought it, and you know, Alex had gotten the frame powder coated, and it was just looking really, really nice. And he said it was beautiful. You know, especially I can imagine, you know, I'm not a father myself, but I can imagine having a son and seeing them kind of follow in your footsteps and getting into the sport and doing excellent work. And Derek decided that he really wanted to be a part of this project, and he told his son, you know, I'm gonna have you do all the work on this thing, but whenever you need the help, I'll be there for you. I'll be looking over your shoulder, making sure you're doing everything right. And I'm sure he was teaching him everything that he knows. And for me, that definitely hits home, because that's really the way that I learned pretty much everything about motors and dirt bikes and, you know, doing home improvements, all kinds of stuff. You know, I grew up working with my dad, and he pretty much taught me everything that I know. And even to this day, when I get stuck, you know, I'm always yelling, "Pop, Pop, what would you do here?" You know what I mean? So that's awesome that Derek is doing that with his family as well. And you'll see in a second here, he goes much more in depth and gets his entire family involved. So in the midst of all this work on the Banshee and the 250R, Derek decided that he wanted to build a quad for his daughter, Madison, as well, and give it to her on her 16th birthday. And he has a kind of a funny quote in here. He said, "I'm not buying you a car so that you can drive away from me. Rather, I'm building you a quad so that you can ride alongside of me." And I think that's awesome, you know, getting the kids involved and the whole family. I think when people can ride as a family, that's really, really cool. And it's something that you really don't see too often. So now we're gonna get into one of the actual 250R builds. And the one at the end is the one that's really outstanding. Not that this first one isn't, but the other one is just like superb in my opinion. So this first one started out as this blue 250R, and he ended up taking a bunch of parts from this, the frame, and most of the other stuff he bought parts on eBay. And a majority of the performance parts came off of the 250R that got rolled, because that quad was getting built with all kinds of like super top-notch stuff. Not that this stuff isn't top-notch, but he was going to be upgrading even higher. So he took like the ELKA legacy suspension off of the 250R and put it on his daughter's, stuff like that. So amongst cleaning up parts and getting things powder coated, he took the 86 frame from that blue 250R. He cleaned up any kind of weld spatter or ugly stuff like that, got rid of unwanted mounts, and he repaired some stress cracks, and then he sent it out to powder coating. He got all new bearings minus the internals of the engine. He rebuilt the water pump, kickstarter, rear master cylinder, front and rear calipers. He put all new hardware throughout, with the exception of the stock linkage bolts. And most of the parts and bolts that he used were all OEM Honda, including the engine external screws and nuts. Now the parts list for this thing is pretty long, and I'm not going to go through everything, but I am going to include the parts lists for both of the 250Rs in the description of this video. So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. But the motor that he built for his daughter, it's a 265cc. It has a 38mm PWK carburetor, ELKA standard travel legacies front and rear. Some other parts that he transferred over are the Curtis Sparks pipe and silencer that he repacked and polished to look like brand new, the rear axle carrier, RPM Dominator axle, Pro taper bars, AC front bumper, all good stuff. Now aside from all the parts that Derek swapped over from his original 250R, he did buy a number of new parts, some of them including Hyper carbon fiber wheels, some ITP tires, LONESTAR parts, new sprockets and chain, all new ball joints, ODI grips, ASV levers, Motion Pro clutch and throttle cables, GPI radiator, a CFM aluminum airbox, Leggers 17.5-inch swing arm, V-Force 3 reeds, MAIER tank cover and hood, Alba nerfs and an aluminum gas cap. I mean, he's got so much stuff here. And again, guys, if you want to see the full list, it's all listed below. But he did an excellent job choosing parts. Really, really classy look. He did an awesome job with this build. All right, now getting to what I would say is probably the most impressive of builds sent in by Derek. Now this one he calls the Widow, and it's definitely a badass bike. I mean, he did this thing up pretty much in every way, shape, and form that you possibly can. From the exterior, having stage 5 ELKA suspension, which is pretty much the best you can get, a 363 motor built by LED, all top-notch stuff. I mean, this thing is f***ing awesome. So I know this might be a little bit confusing, but this quad is the original quad from this video. It's that 250R that Derek bought back in 2010 from Ohio. It was rolled backwards by his son. So this is the one that he was buying all these really premium parts for and taking the old parts and swapping them onto his daughter's quad for her Sweet 16. So there's only a few parts that Derek kept from that original 86. He kept the original 86 frame, the gas tank and mounting brackets, radiator mounts, engine stays, rear brake caliper, rear shock linkage and bolts, and the AC grab bar. Now I'm gonna stop right there. I wanna show you what he did to this frame. So besides cleaning up weld spatter, removing unwanted tabs and stuff like that, he noticed that the swing arm bolts, the swing arm bolt holes were elongated. So if you know 250R frames, there's a washer that's in this area right here, and that hole was elongated. So what he did is he very carefully opened up those holes, and he took the inner race of a needle bearing, put it inside, and then he ran a swing arm bolt through to make sure everything was lined up perfectly, and then welded the inner race in place so that there was, that would completely fix the problem of having the egged out holes. And right here, it looks pretty sloppy, but at the end, you can see it looks really, really clean. You can't even tell, like, really anything. You can see he like tapered up the welds, and it looks super clean. I mean, if you didn't know what a 250R looked like in that area prior, you probably wouldn't even know that this was a modification, but it looks like he did an excellent job. All right, now as far as aftermarket parts on this quad, the list is so long, I'm not going to read everything because it's even longer than the other 250R, but I can tell you this much: pretty much everything on this quad is aftermarket. Nothing went untouched. If it was an OEM part, he cleaned it and had it powder coated. And you can see from these pictures, I mean, it just looks like a brand new quad. Excellent job. He did a great job picking colors and parts, really, to build just a beautiful quad. It's super tasteful. All brand new OEM Honda nuts and bolts. I will read through a couple of these modifications, and I want to read through the motor modifications too. But he's got an RPM Dominator +4 axle, a bunch of LONESTAR stuff in the rear end, like an anti-fade sprocket hub. The front has 400EX hubs. The rear are 250R. He's got a 17.5-inch swing arm. For suspension, he's got ELKA Stage 5s. Like I said, that is like top-notch, pretty much the best that you can get, and they were set up by Jed at Roll Design. Same thing with the rear shock. He has the Roll Design +3, +1 MX long travel A-arms in the front, Roll Design steering stem, and he also has IMS Roll Design Nerf bars that are actually made for a YFC 450R, and he custom fit them and fabricated them so that they would fit perfectly. You can see he made these custom brackets to make these Nerf bars fit perfectly, and he did add little bump stops onto the end of the Nerf bars so that it doesn't damage the frame and to have the least amount of vibration as possible. And he did an excellent job, man. It looks like these things were made for the 250R. Definitely props to you there, man. It looks excellent. Now moving on with some more of the mods on this bike. It has YFC 450R front brake calipers, front and rear stainless steel braided brake lines, an LSR seat latch, MAIER plastics, fully custom graphics made by SSI decals. Between Derek and SSI, they made a custom one-off design graphics just for this quad. Of course, it's got 4Works carbon fiber cal hood, tank cover, and rear master cylinder. The motor is built by LED Performance, and I'm going to be getting to that in a second. It's got a Duncan Racing front bumper, Tag T2 bars, Hyper CF1 fronts, and Tech 3s in the back, QUADCROSS ITP tires. There's just a ton of stuff. Like I said before, all of the mods will be listed below if you're interested to see what's been done to this bike. Now, as far as the motor, this is the true beauty. It's made by LED Performance. Most of you are familiar with that, I'm sure. It's a big bore 363 4mm stroker, non-power valve, and it runs on 110 race fuel, so it's probably pretty high compression. He's got an ESR cylinder, machined center cases, counterbalance, head and water neck. He has a welded crankshaft, complete set of Shore Motorsports transmission gears, slingshot lockup clutch, and the Works clutch kit with a Hinson clutch basket, CR125 clutch fibers, and 250R steel plates. Now, I don't know if that's like a combo that a lot of guys use. It sounds really specific. I've heard of people doing some stuff collaborating 400EX clutch parts with 250R parts. I haven't heard CR125 clutch fibers before. But I have a feeling that's some kind of trick within the industry. So you can see there were no expenses spared on this build, and there are some other custom things that Derek did to this quad. One of the other ones that I wanted to mention is that he made a custom seat latch. So I guess the seat mounts on the 86 and 87 are notoriously kind of flimsy. So what Derek did is he bought a seat mount for an 86 to 87 250R off of eBay, and he was looking at that thing and he said, hell no, man, I'm not putting this on my bike. No way, it's too weak. So he took a 1/4-inch piece of steel, and I'm not going to say exactly how he fabricated this thing, but I do have pictures. And when he was all done, he has everything welded into place, and he said it's Hercules strong now. So that's pretty awesome. So amongst all of the top-notch aftermarket parts, the custom fabrication, to fix things that are weak from the factory, you can tell Derek has done an excellent job on both of these 250Rs. It's super, super special that he's including his family. And I think the Sweet 16 250R for his daughter Madison, that's just like the best gift you could ever get. I don't know about you guys, but I'd much rather get a built 250R that my pop made over any car if I was even going to get something like that on a Sweet 16. But that is one of the best gifts I have ever heard of for his 16th birthday. So props to you, man. That is awesome. And it's not over yet. You can see the two 250Rs right here. But Derek's actually working on a third quad, and that's going to be for his other daughter, and it's a TRX 250X, and he's planning on making it a 330X. I don't have any pictures or plans for that quad, but he's going to have the whole family on board between the Banshee for his son, 250R for his one daughter, and the 250X for his other daughter. It's a super awesome story. So I hope I'm not doing a disservice to either of these quads. I know I didn't list every single modification that went into these things, but hopefully from these pictures and from what I told you, you can gather that Derek put a ton of blood, sweat, and tears into these quads, and it's really appears to me to be, you know, one of the things that held his family together in such a great way. They obviously all share a great passion for the sport, and the fact that he's enabled everybody to have their own quad and to be able to go out riding together is really awesome for me to hear, and I think it's really awesome for the sport and just awesome for families in general. It's something, like I said, you don't really hear it too much, and I have a lot of respect for what he did. I think he did an excellent job, and you can tell he doesn't cut any corners. These pictures pretty much say it all, and I'm sure in person these things are just as nice. And there is a running clip. I'm going to play it for you at the end. It's just a short running clip of his 250R idling. It's definitely a top-notch machine, man, and I want to say thank you again for taking all the time to send in all these pictures and making the custom video and everything. I really appreciate that, all the kind words and everything that we shared on Instagram. Super awesome, man. Helping grow this sport together. We can do it, man. We can take over the side-by-sides. Nah, I'm just kidding. I like side-by-sides too. But anyways, guys, I appreciate everybody watching this video, and make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below and let Derek know what you think of his build, if you think what he did is awesome. And if you have a similar story, make sure to share that below too. People love reading those stories, guys. It's not all about me, and I do read through all the comments. Unfortunately, I can't respond to everybody, but I do like to read through the comments. All that stuff means a lot to me. And make sure to stay tuned. Later on in the week, I am going to be releasing my OMF wheel mounting video. Now, if you guys watched the last video, some people were like, oh, dude, you said you were going to mount the tires and you didn't. Well, I did. It's just in the second video. So that's going to be coming up on Friday, and then I will be back making more videos the following week. I love all you guys. Make sure you kill it this week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.